Hi, everyone. Usually you would see when I upload a video, what do you want to do? What do you want to do is my series that I've been doing for a year in 2021 in January to December. And now here in almost March, the end of February, I've done a few 2022 shows of What Do You Want to Do? What Do You Want to Do is the show that talks about what you and I and all of us want to do with their lives. And some people who are guests do it for a career. Some people do it on the side, and some haven't done it yet. And it's a mistake to say that they'll never do it, because that's what this show is all about, is people having the courage to try it, not necessarily to throw your life away, as my friend John Krell said on the last show, but to do it on the side. Sometimes it helps you keep your sanity in a job that maybe you don't like, and you come home and you do something that you really love. The ideal, of course, is to do what you want to do and make money with it and profit by it. But the more important thing than profiting by it is really feeling that this is your calling or the thing that you love most, and it doesn't feel like work when you're doing it, and things like that. So hopefully I'm achieving that objective with a lot of my guests. My first guest in 2022 was Phil Weinstein. Phil Weinstein was a high school student when I first knew him, and he graduated, of course, and he went on to do a whole bunch of things that he loves doing. He's a great example of what this show is all about, because money is secondary to Phil. He dog walks, he works with children, he does his podcast, and he gets a lot of accomplishment, a feeling of accomplishment in doing all of those things. He says that he should be better about money and he should think about it more, because all of us kind of have to think of it. It's when we get to think of it in fear of what would happen if we don't have the money that we get into trouble. That's me saying that. So we all have to think about fiscal responsibility, whether we have families or whether it's just to ourselves. And of course, the ideal is making money in doing the thing that you love. So Phil is a young guy. I started a podcast with him after that, which I'm going to talk about in 2 seconds after I finish this list of people. It's not a very long list because 2022 isn't really that long yet, but Phil was a really good guest. He's very personable, and he has a lot of practice on his own podcast. And Phil is somebody I'm sure I'm going to be having back again. As you might know, if you're a fan of this podcast, then I have people back when they have achieved a milestone in their career or a change. And it's fun to follow them when they go on to either maybe changing to another field or another project, or higher up in their own sphere, in their own field, in another position. But Phil's pretty unpredictable, so I'm definitely expecting to have him on again. My next guest was Dan Klein. Second appearance for Dan. Dan was at one time in the Motley Fool, which is a very well-known financial advice show. From the Motley Fool, about a year later, he announced that he was going to go to a new company called Seven Investing, which is along the same idea, made up of former employees of the Motley Fool. Dan became the lead host of this video series, and he left it because he always wanted to be a managing editor, which he is now. And it also has to do with the financial world. And Dan, I think, has found his niche, because this is what he always dreamed of doing, even when I knew him. Both Phil and Dan I knew as part of a group that I mentioned probably all too frequently on this show called the Cable Club. The Cable Club was an after-school activity where I taught the kids, the students, the after-school members how to do video, and everybody had their own show. It was very easy because they were all talented, a multi-talented group, and they all have gone on to do amazing things. There'll be more members, believe me, from that group. I'm never going to say who's going to be on the show because, as I used to say on Wrestling Talk, my cable TV show that I did for 31 years, it's bad luck, according to myself and the late, great Paul Fay, to say who's going to be on because you might not get them. And then you've got it all recorded that you're going to have the person on, and boom, you've disappointed the world or just the little audience that you have in your show or podcast. So, but there will be, I can guarantee there'll be at least a couple more people from my old group, the Cable Club. And my latest guest was Jonathan Krell. Had a lot of fun doing the show with Jonathan Krell, who was a lawyer and a child advocate and inventor of iNormo. And I spelled it wrong in my Facebook Live. I have to apologize to you for that, John. Here's how you spell iNormo. I-N-O-R-M-O, iNormo. And you can find iNormo at iNormo.com. Now, what is iNormo? iNormo is a bubble making kit, I guess you could call it, where you can make bubbles so big that you can fit an adult, a child, a man or a woman or a dog, Penny Krell, into the bubble. And it'll pop in a minute. Nothing to worry about, as we discussed. You can't suffocate inside the bubble, but it's a lot of fun. Before I go, I want to mention this group: Seth Lerman, Phil Weinstein, Dave Viger, and Anthony Sharafa. Collectively, we are known as the Beatlemaniacs. And the Beatlemaniacs is a really fun podcast that we started last week. And we get to talk about our favorite subject, the Beatles. And everyone who's on the show is very knowledgeable about different aspects of the Beatles. We tell stories, we contradict each other, we agree with each other, we tell anecdotes that maybe a couple of the other members don't know. We're up on all Beatle news, and it's a heck of a lot of fun if you're a Beatles fan to listen to, as well as for us to make it. So that's on another channel that I created called the Beatlemaniacs. So I don't know actually if you'll find it that way, though, because the Beatles is such a huge topic, and it's hard to do a search because of the algorithms. You'll come up with 50 million things before you come up to my creation, our channel, the Beatlemaniacs. The little icon that I made has a dark blue background, and it just says the words, the Beatlemaniacs. But unless you have a link to it, you're probably not going to be able to find it. And I'm going to do the best I can to remedy that. If we come out with the next podcast, hopefully when there's two at least, there'll be something more with each episode that we make. There'll be another piece of evidence that it exists, so that maybe it'll someday come up in a search. Anyway, so join me again on either the Beatlemaniacs or What Do You Want to Do, or on old Wrestling Talk uploads, which temporarily I've taken those down because of something that I'll announce in the near future, but I think I still have a couple of those up there. So thank you for watching this or listening to this or both, and we'll see you next time. And until then, what do you want to do?